Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of The Game Changer, of course, live here on Spreaker.com, as well as on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Mr. NTG1990 on the YouTube. And, you know, we enjoy things here, and by we, I mean myself, Nate the Effing Great, and I'm being joined here, as always, by the lovely Victory Bell. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing very well, and, of course, I think when a lot of people think of crossovers, they think of different cultures, different kind of worlds just colliding with each other. And I mean, I guess you could say that this is basically a crossover every single time we do this episode. I mean, you got me, a lowly young podcaster, and Victory Bell, who is a pretty accomplished cosplayer. Just two different... I said pretty accomplished. I didn't say, you know, try to get too generous.
Yeah, I can definitely see I'm in a fantasy world and you're living in reality. It's great.
And that is kind of one of the greatest things about crossovers, is that you get that fantasy idea of, you know, what would happen if, you know, this person and this person were to just butt heads, and what would happen if this person, you know, teamed up, or if they just, you know, worked together, and everything else in between. It's just absolutely amazing what crossovers can do. They could be something great, like, of course, you know, the Avengers, like the Justice League. So many of these great characters coming together for a common goal. And even some of the lower stuff like you see in TV series, I think I can name George Lopez. They did a crossover between Two and a Half Men and CSI at one point, and it actually was a pretty entertaining episode. Then there's some other crossovers that don't always exactly fan out too well. I mean, we're probably not going to mention too many off the bat. I think Alien vs. Predators. But we're here to more talk about some of our favorite crossovers that have indeed happened. And also we're going to give you guys some ideas as to what we would like to see for crossovers in the upcoming year. And now, obviously, this is not going to be subjected on one thing. It's not going to be just movies or just video games or just this and that. It's going to be a wide selection, you guys. And if you want to let us know what you guys think was a great crossover, be sure to let us know either by Twitter, by Facebook. Let us know what you think was a great crossover. But before we get into that and how you can talk to us and how you can find us, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some of the great crossovers that have indeed happened. So, do you want to start it off, Victory Bell, or should I lie?
Sure, I'll start.
Go for it.
So yeah, I decided to go big right off the bat and say one of my favorite crossovers that I believe is going to be reoccurring is Godzilla vs. King Kong, the Monster Bash. The big dog going head to head. Personally, I think Godzilla would always destroy King Kong, but, you know, he's an AP smart. But, I think that we were talking about how Godzilla vs. King Kong actually happened back in the 60s, so their two puppets did fight before. But now I'm almost for sure that the new worlds that King Kong and Godzilla have been setting up for us are in fact the same world. And so Kong Island, the new Kong, and the new Godzilla that everybody hated, are probably going to come together and become a giant monster fight, which is why people watch Godzilla in the first place, is they want to watch Godzilla fight some monsters. They don't want to just watch stupid little humans try to attack Godzilla, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to see a monster fight. When you see Godzilla's name, you want a monster fight. And so I'd be really excited to see those two clash again, especially with the new Kong being as ginormous as he is. Like, he is huge. So he would actually be a little more, I think, up for the challenge than what a normal King Kong would be. When you think of what you grew up with, what King Kong is like, you know, what, maybe the size of a giraffe, and in this new one he was literally the size of Godzilla, so sweet.
Yeah, I personally was pretty favorable when it came to the new Godzilla when it came out. The new one,
really?
which, yeah, I thought they did a pretty good job. They at least, you know, displayed him pretty well. I thought, you know, some of his special abilities were probably well done, at least in my opinion. I have not yet seen the new King Kong. The one I'm assuming you're talking about the one from Skull Island, correct?
Yes, with Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson and John Goodman. Man,
Yeah.
John Goodman went from.
I didn't necessarily like the new Godzilla. I'm a pretty hardcore fan of the old Godzilla stuff, and you know what? I was cool with Godzilla 2000, like with
God.
I liked it, dude. I thought it was interesting with all the eggs and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, baby Godzilla's what?
Well, maybe that concept would have worked, but I think one of the reasons why people did not really enjoy it, and I myself included, was because of one man by the name of Matthew Broderick, who it's just like, what exactly are you trying to do here? You seemingly are just ruining all our good movies here. You ruined Inspector Gadget, you ruined Godzilla with just one line, and that's a lot of fish. It's like, dude, you're not Jeff Goldblum. Just face the facts. Sorry, I'm getting on a rant. I'm sorry.
Wow,
I'm sorry.
I did not know this hatred you had. This is interesting. I've learned something new.
Oh.
You hated Matthew Broderick.
I feel like the only good role he was a dog that had a CGI mouth. And what was it? Oh, Good Boy. That was it. That was like the only good role I think that he was probably in. Other than that, it's like, dude, Matthew, just stop ruining our movies, please. Just
Ferris
no.
Bueller was pretty good.
Ferris Bueller. Oh, well, that one I haven't seen yet, so I guess I can't fully.
That's what I'm there for.
Okay, fair.
Bueller.
Bueller.
At the time when the Breakfast Club and everything was big, and all those people died. Not died. I'm sorry, that sounds bad, but I mean their career was over.
You probably should have just said when their careers died, not they died.
I probably should have said that. But, alright, Godzilla King Kong got me in a violent mood.
Because, man, this is an interesting way to start off this episode, because I don't think we've ever been this violent to start off. Unless it was... Actually, I think the last time we probably were this hostile was during the Green Lantern debates, probably.
Yeah, but we're not even mad at each other. We're just angry.
Just angry at the movies.
It's an angry day. All right, your turn. Let's one that's been made and then tear it down.
Okay. So, I'm going to start with the most generic one that I probably could think about, and it really goes back to quite a bit with, growing up, watching, Saturday morning cartoons, everything like that. But one of the things that always captivated me most and what got me excited on Saturdays was always watching the Power Rangers. And that's so many of the different seasons. And every single time they did a crossover episode where it was like the previous season with the current season. And then they would do that with the next season. And they would just continue that on. And then they tried going bigger. I think it was after season 10, they had like all the Red Rangers brought into the fray to take out Serpentera. Then I think years later they still kept doing the crossovers, but then they did this massive crossover where they had every single Power Ranger generation involved in this massive fight, and it was just absolutely amazing. They incorporated some of the classic guys from Lightspeed, Time Force. They even brought in Tommy, one of the original Power Rangers, which was awesome. I mean, was it Jason David Frank? Yeah. It's just awesome just seeing it in Tommy, and he's the one guy that everybody's just like, oh man, this is great. It's not gonna be a great movie unless it's got Jason David Frank. It does, yay! And probably the one reason why anybody watched the other Power Rangers movie that came out last year. But again, that's beside the point. Just anytime the Power Rangers did a crossovers with previous seasons or with future seasons, it was just awesome. It just made it that much more interesting, because it's just like, oh, I remember this character. Oh, I remember this. Oh, gosh, you remember when they had this thing and this thing? It's like, it's just one of those things where I watch it and I'm just like, man, this is like almost as good as Christmas morning. You're just seeing this and thinking like, oh, man, I'm loving this. I'm having a great time watching this. And it would only last for maybe like an episode or two, but it was still worth it. It still got people interested. And a lot of people are just still loving those crossover episodes. So for me, very generic, very, but I thought that, anytime they did a crossover for Power Rangers, it was awesome. I loved it.
Great, yeah. I mean, I kind of stopped watching Power Rangers probably around that time. I was a super big Power Ranger nerd. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I had to be like in a daycare system with enough kids that like we all could be the Power Rangers, but I always had to be the Yellow Ranger because like I'm a female and I wasn't top dog, so I had to be yellow.
Well, it's actually a surprise considering I would have thought that you would have been the Pink Ranger or something like that with that stereotypical deal.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
That I wasn't top dog, so I couldn't be Pink Ranger.
Oh,
Top dog had to be Pink Ranger.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, way to bring up bad memories, Nate.
Well, I didn't.
But no, once Power Rangers stopped, when they started doing like the different people, I had a big thing when I was a kid. Like I couldn't follow it. Like I was like, these are strangers, and I don't know who these people are.
I got you.
But no, I would definitely. I agree. I enjoy when they do switch casts and then bring some of the old cast back for shows. I think that's always great. I think it's always fun for your audience and fans. So nice. I like that.
Ups the ratings. Boom, boom. All right, who you got next?
One of my favorite crossovers that happened, and this is going to be a video game. Oh my goodness, I am going to forget what the owner's name is here, but I do know the video game is Mortal Kombat vs. DC. I love that Mortal Kombat universe and the DC universe are now owned by the same people. I know that Warner Brothers owns them, but I know that the actual gaming company is here in Chicago, and I'm going to forget their name, so we will remember them eventually. I actually got to work with some of the Mortal Kombat guys who work for, I think it's like NetherRealm or something. But yeah, so they actually make and get to be like these people who are like the Flash and Scorpion and stuff like that. And I just think it is so cool to add Mortal Kombat and like the DC superheroes that we know and love and see them face off and see them like Mortal Kombat is kind of like demonic and godlike characters, and then these guys are just our brand knowing comic book characters, and it's really cool that, you know, they decided to buy Mortal Kombat, and they're like, screw it, let's put them together, why not? And that's why you see in Injustice and these games that are these typical Mortal Kombat styled all the way back. You know, Mortal Kombat was the first of this type, this 1v1 fighting game. You see these are modeled off of Mortal Kombat, so I really give, you know, DC and the owners, you know, Warner Brothers and all them, you know, really good, you know, props for being like, hey, let's buy Mortal Kombat, let's put them in our game that we want to do this with, and it's worked. I think everybody who does Injustice you kind of want to do, like, you like the DC characters, but you're like, I really want to get more Mortal Kombat characters in here, and that's why they have those, you know, the Scorpion and Sub-Zero are up for sale, and you just buy them because you're like, oh, I need them. I have to have them. But yeah, I think that is one of my favorite crossovers, getting to see these characters kind of be in the same realm, and they make a story around it, which is even more fun, and that's kind of what I really like about these games that I'm going to be choosing, is that there is a story that is cohesive of why these characters are in this realm together. And I guess with any comic book setting, you could totally make this be real. You could totally make, like, worlds collide, because it's like, oh, this was World 78, so Mortal Kombat has always existed, we just haven't explored World 78 yet. And then all of the fans are like, oh yeah, 78, yep, you're right, we haven't talked about 78 yet. Like, sure, why not? Why not? There's so many different worlds out there that you're allowed to have, and that's kind of the cool thing about being creative in the comic book world, is so the imagination can go wherever, and I'm super stoked that they made this, and, you know, I'm glad that maybe one day they'll make it a movie, who knows?
Was it the gaming company? Wasn't that called Midway Games by chance?
I think that's like the basic maybe comic. I really thought it was like NetherRealms or Nether or something. It's Midway might have been the first to make Mortal Kombat, but it is a gaming company that is out of Chicago. Not that that's not a thing, because actually a lot of gaming companies started in Chicago.
Right.
It's an interesting fact that a lot of people don't realize. But yeah, so no worries about the I don't really care if I know the main creator's name. I know that the characters I know and the crossover I know, and which I got that. So, boom.
Right. All right, so I guess I get the next spot here. So, basically, for this next crossover, it was something that basically made everybody think, it's very scary to go to sleep. It's very scary to stay awake, because it seems like either way you're going to die. And what I'm talking about, of course, was one of the best crossover horror movies that I've ever seen. That being Freddy vs. Jason. Legitimately, I loved this movie. I think there were just a couple bumps every now and then, but I thought the action scenes between Freddy and Jason were awesome. We get to see, what Jason would be like if he was in the dream realm, and it was all Freddy Krueger having his, advantage. Or we see Freddy Krueger being brought to the real world, where basically Jason has the advantage. It's just very well done. A lot of people are definitely complaining that, in a movie that's Freddy versus Jason, you would think they would be fighting more. Well, to be fair, they had to really have a really good cause for the two of them to actually be fighting. I thought they did a good job of building into it. I think the only issue was that they dragged it on just a little too long. But for the most part, I thought that, like I said, the fight scenes were really good. Freddy finding out Jason's weakness, of course, being water, which I find kind of weird, considering like the first, Friday the 13th movie, he pops out of water just to grab the girl from the canoe. But still, it was one of those things where it was just like, oh boy, Freddy knows a fear. You know what that means? He's going to have a full-on 100% edge. And just, I really enjoyed this movie. I loved it. And it was a dream come true for a lot of horror movie fans, because we finally get to see two icons fighting off against each other. And they did such an amazing job of even hyping up for it. I don't know if you remember, they actually did deal in Las Vegas where they just came up with the idea of just actually making it almost like an actual boxing fight. They had like weigh-ins, they had press conferences, they did everything to just make this movie into a big deal, and it was made into an amazing deal. And some people are going to criticize some of the stupidity of it, but at the same time, not all movies are going to be perfect. In all honesty, I was very pleased with how Freddy vs. Jason happened, and if we get another one, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, well, that's going to be hard to top, because, all honesty, once you don't have Robert Englund, it's going to be one of those things that's going to be like, well, the guy will at least give it a good shot, but Robert Englund's the man no matter what. And again, just loved the crossover, loved the concept behind it, where Jason's basically putting in everybody's head, oh, Freddy's back, Freddy's back. And then when they find out about Jason, it's like Freddy's right behind him just saying, oh yeah, he's the one doing all the killing, but I'm the brains behind it. Oh, now I can have my fun. Then Jason's just like, nope, you're not getting no fun. It's like, why? Okay, now I'm pissed. And then they have the fight scene, and like I said, I love the action sequences. I love what they did, and the ending was, I thought it was great. I thought it was even funny, to where Jason's just coming out of the water. He looks basically unfazed, unhurt, and he's got the head of Freddy, and Freddy just looks over at the camera, does a wink, and basically looks like he's dead again. It's like, oh, please, give us Jason versus Freddy 2 already. Just that one ending, it's got me hooked.
Awesome. That's awesome. I actually never saw that, but in general, we already know I'm not a huge horror fan, so
no. You?
That would explain why. But yeah, no, I heard good things from you about it, so That's all that matters.
Yeah, like I said, there were a lot of people that thought that the story was kind of prolonging a bit, but for the most part, like I said, action sequences were the one things that everybody came to see, and if it was going to take about maybe like an hour to see them, they were going to see it eventually. But again, in all honesty, I thought the story was good. Would I change a couple things? Well, yeah, everybody could change a couple of things, maybe a couple of the actors, maybe a couple of motivations, and blah blah blah. But like I said, just bring out Freddy, bring out Jason, let them duke it out, and it's a win, no matter what. It's like, okay, we're seeing this boring movie for an hour. There's a lot of those movies where it's like, okay, we're getting this boring movie for about an hour. Yay, we finally get the fight sequence. Yes, it's worth it. Totally worth the hour wasted.
I feel you. When are you gonna see dinosaurs fight or something? That's how I felt with Jurassic Park. I was like, come on. Where's the dinos? Let's get it going. But great. Good choice.
It's funny you mention that because I'm pretty sure as soon as you watch that movie and you see just doing the Raptors in that final scene where they're just like surrounding, Alan Grant and the others, and it's just like, oh, here we go, we're all doomed. And I think I remember seeing that for the first time. It's like, oh crap, this is not good. One leap, here's a T-Rex out of nowhere. I'm like, what in the actual what?
It was the best. The original Jurassic Park, that was the best. And they're like hanging on the dinosaur bones and stuff. They're like, oh. Remake, let's not talk about.
I enjoyed Jurassic World for the most part. I thought the final scene where basically, the T-Rex and the Raptor, team up against the Adominosaurus Rex. That's right. And they even had that nice twist in the middle there, where it's like, wait, why aren't these Raptors going after him? Why is it? Oh crud! I thought that was ingenious, but everybody has a difference of opinion. Everybody knows, and plus we got Jurassic World 2 coming out this year, so there's going to be more hate coming their way. But hey, it's got Jeff Goldblum, so it's got one good quality, right?
I mean, sure. But yeah, no, we've already talked about this. I feel I did not enjoy that.
I don't know if we have actually. I think we talked a little bit about other things where we thought.
Like I've mentioned being like, oh, and by the way, I hated that movie. I couldn't even rewatch it. It's been on TV, and I'm like, no. And I enjoy Chris Pratt. Like I enjoy him, but I'm like, I can't even in this movie.
Unless he's playing Star-Lord, forget about it.
Yeah, if he's not Star-Lord, I'm out. I enjoyed him when he was funny and, Parks and Recs and stuff, and a little chunkier. It was funny. I enjoyed it.
But, a little chunkier.
But yeah, that's another day, another time to talk about how Jurassic World disappointed me. But,
you hear that, Chris Pratt? Tori likes it when you're chunky.
No, I enjoy you nice too. Like as long as I'm cool. You're funny. But yeah, my next crossover, and I guess the last actual crossover that has happened is I have to say, I don't know if people will agree with me, but I think it's sometimes forgotten about, and I don't know, it is the best crossover video game ever. I love it. I think everybody can play it, and that's the best part. It's Smash Brothers, Smash Brothers is the best. Nintendo took all of its characters and was like, whatever, let's just make it a free-for-all fighting game. And that's what it is. It's 4 players, and you get to go everywhere. Like, it's not that limited back-and-forth movement. Like, you literally can do everything. You can play the whole game with your friend and be, like, together. Like, oh, let's both beat story mode. And you're like, yeah, why not? Like, that was, like, the original Nintendo game that got into crossovers. It was like, okay, Nintendo's done a lot. Let's do one game with all of our best characters. Let's throw Samus and Link and Mario and Pokemon and Kirby all together. Like, woo! And everybody was, like, stoked. And it's survived. I think there's another one coming out soon.
Oh,
Because whenever they make a new game system, Nintendo's like, oh, we gotta throw Smash Brothers in there. and they do. They really do. I forget, what is it, the Twitch now, or Switch?
The Switch, yeah.
I'm not following. I'm not a gamer anymore. I've lost it. But if Smash Brothers does come out, that might change.
Right.
Like, I might have to do it. But yeah, I love that. You know, you can win characters and you fight as Mewtwo versus freaking Link. And they're like, what world? What world would you? What world would you? Ah! But yeah. I got really excited.
Clean up on aisle 5. Oh man.
But great. You can talk now.
Okay. Well, so while Victory Bell is cleaning up the apparent man, so I'm having a hard time just getting over what I just witnessed. So basically, obviously, people know she and I, we talk over Skype, and literally all I see from her is just her hand going down, and I see her drink just spill right over, and I'm just going to leave it with that image there. So, alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the final crossover that I selected, that is one of my personal favorites. We talked a lot about a lot of the epic stuff, and I will agree with so many of these different crossovers, you know, epic proportions, such as, you know, Freddy versus Jason, DC Comics versus Mortal Kombat, the Super Smash Brothers, Godzilla versus King Kong. All these great, you know, things that just really stand out to make people just say, wow, this is amazing. For me, I went to something a little more classical, something that's, you know, probably been overlooked for a while, and I actually just watched the entirety of this episode. And that was an episode that featured Mr. Rogers and Bill Nye the Science Guy. And for me as a kid, I loved this. This was amazing. Mr. Rogers, God rest his soul, is perhaps one of the nicest people that people remember from television. A lot of my generation grew up with, you know, Sesame Street and Blue's Clues and the Teletubbies, unfortunately, God help us all. But then we also watched Mr. Rogers, who was almost like that adult that was always cool with you, that was always kind to you, that was always there to make it seem like, hey, you may be different, but you are still special just the way you are, and made you feel appreciative for who you are in yourself. And even outside of his character, Fred Rogers was always the guy who was just always nice, always sweet, always made people just feel like they were appreciated for who they were. It didn't matter if you were of a different ethnicity or gender, it didn't matter. He always said, you are always special, you are amazing just the way you are. And maybe that's probably where boy bands get their, you know, lyrics from, but I could be wrong. It's really cool to see that. And then you incorporate Bill Nye the Science Guy, who is basically the guy who made science so much fun. And even nowadays, he's still finding a way to make science this just amazing phenomenon for kids and for adults. He'll do these little classic experiments where he basically takes vinegar and baking soda in a bottle and he uses it to help blow up a balloon. Or he'll teach you things about, you know, one that actually kind of stood out to me, I don't know why, was when he was talking about the naked mole rats, and he just kept on emphasizing, it's like, they're naked, and they're mole rats, and there's just like this classic horror movie scream of just, ah! Where it was just so great seeing Bill Nye being this guy who's making, you know, science fun, and he's making it very educational, and just, again, having these two worlds cross over and become something that could not even be fully described. I even watched that. It's only like a 5-minute video that you could find on YouTube, and for me, I still enjoyed it. Just hearing, you know, Mr. Rogers talking to Bill, and Bill talking about, you know, all of these chemical components and blah 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 blah. Just hearing that and everything that's just going on there is just great. Although I will say with this crossover, one thing that stands out is Bill Nye basically saying, "Oh, well, I got to go to a school to teach these kids about these chemical reactions. You mind cleaning up this mess that we made up here?" And Mr. Rogers, he's just being the nice guy, of course, just saying like, "Oh, sure, Bill, it's not a problem whatsoever." It's like, is this where I get my kind-heartedness from Mr. Rogers, who basically just said, "Oh, you know what? I'll take care of this. I'll take care of this. No problem whatsoever." Just maybe that's why every single day it's just like, maybe I'm just that kind-hearted guy that's not going to just argue with people. That's just, very, very sad, very sad. Just, yeah, that was
I understand about cleaning up stuff. That sucks. Oh my goodness.
Well, it would have been different if it was somebody else's mess you had to clean up, but it was your mess, so I think it feels kind of okay, but not full on.
I mean, I was really excited about this coffee. And now it's nothing.
Yeah, it basically went from like 3/4 to like an eighth in a matter of a second.
Yeah, and I got to clean the table, I got to clean the rug. Mom rug. But no, that is a really a cool crossover that I have not seen myself again. But I could definitely see that being a really, one, educational, and two, like kind of a good real life type of guys. They're in semi-reality shows, semi. I always want to say semi. Reality shows are semi-reality, but they're good teachers, and them coming together in a YouTube video or whatever video, it would be great and awesome to see. And what's even cooler about what your choice is that there's only a limited time that you could have possibly have done that, and they did it. So that's really cool, because when you have real life people, obviously they have a real life that will eventually end. And sadly, Mr. Rogers is gone. Bill Nye's still here. He's still kicking pretty good. He's still doing Netflix shows now, so that's always great. But in general, like with these fictional characters, we have an endless amount of time that we can create these, and we can do extraordinary crossovers. But when you have these icons, celebrity icons, or iconic teachers and iconic stuff like that, it does make it a little more special to have it happen, because again, like I said, it can't always happen, and you have a limited amount of time. So it's cool that it happened, and it's cool that you brought it up.
Yeah, I guess we could do a little cheap plug. It's basically Bill Nye Saves the World on Netflix. It's on right now. I don't know if I'm too captivated to watch it, but I think I might just start watching it sometime this week. Maybe get a feel for what Bill Nye's been up to.
Heard it's pretty good, but I know like some people like this, some people don't. I'm not a super political person when it comes to like getting preached at. I watch all the nature shows. I watch Planet Earth. I watch I watch everything on Netflix with nature shows. So I get my fill of like what we're doing to the planet and how we're hurting it and what we need to do to stop it. But I do know that Bill Nye has been a bit he's turned from child teacher to political activist.
Oh.
And so sometimes when you watch him, like the memories of him were really great, but sometimes I'm kind of feeling like he's yelling at me now, and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, Bill Nye, I suck because I'm human. And which I get why you're doing that. I personally enjoy being educated sometimes without being preached at. And I know he preaches now a lot, like all the time. But that's his stance, that's his platform. He's decided he is a scientist, and his role in life is to educate people about global warming, about what's happening to the planet. And if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do, and I can choose not to watch it. So, boom.
Boom. Drops the mic, leaves the room.
But obviously I watch all the nature shows, so I understand what's going on. I just like how in nature shows you get to see it, and you get to kind of make your little own like judges and stuff, like, oh man, like this is harsh, this is bad, not, hey you Nate, it is your fault, all your fault. You drink from plastic water bottles, you're the worst. Like, what? And as I'm drinking Dunkin' Donuts with a plastic straw, no! I spilled it too. Talk about waste.
Right. I see your point. But, yeah, so those were a lot of the crossovers that we really enjoyed over the years, whether it's from our childhood, whether it's from our, adulthood. We always find good reasons to just enjoy it, let it soak in, and I think a lot of times we don't even let
it soak in.
That was unintentional. I was going to say, we let it just stay with us, and we think of more the positives of it. There's so many people that can look back and they'll always look at as a negative, where they're just like the nostalgia's gone, and they're just like, oh, in reality, this is not, really good, and blah 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 blah. But for me, there's like all those moments where I see these crossovers, and the nostalgia's still there. Where it's like, how cool is it that we get to see these characters, either duke it out, or they just have a conversation like they're normal people. It's just really cool to see that. And for us, we also thought it'd be good to suggest a few ideas, or even come up with some ideas that would be really good crossovers. So, unfortunately, for me, I only have one. So, if you have a few that you want to get right off the bat, go for it. Because, like I said, I only got one that really stands out to me as, I want to see this, and this would make me, supremely happy, I guess.
Supreme happiness.
Supreme happiness level maxed.
I definitely decided to pick 3, and these are stuff that I feel like maybe not everybody has thought of these, but in general, we spoke a little bit before the podcast, and I was kind of feeling like, oh, this is a little ridiculous what I'm choosing, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what, I would watch it. If it popped up in my Netflix queue, or if I just saw a trailer, and at the end, this trailer could be black, and at the end, these 2 words popped up, I would be like, okay, I'm going. You have my money. You have it. I will go and watch this movie. And a little bit of, just a disclaimer for this is, I know that the owners of all these companies, or all these things, probably aren't the same people, so this will never probably happen, but that's what's great about making up our own crossovers. We can do whatever we want. So, right off the bat, I thought it would be friggin' amazing to see Justice League versus Avengers. Why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't we? It would be amazing. It would be so cool to get to see our new live action, even cartoons. I would take cartoons. Live action cartoons of the new Justice League and the new Avengers. And it could even be, they could be working together, or they could be versing each other, worlds collide. Oh my gosh. It would be awesome.
Yep, that was it. I was basically saying DC Comics versus Marvel, which, like you said, would it happen? Probably not. Not unless Disney found a way to swoop, DC Comics away from Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think. They did buy out, Fox Search Spotlight, so it could happen. I mean, they're on the right path. They're getting closer. So. But yeah, like you said, if we got just cartoon versions, live action versions, I'd be okay with it. I would still
even a video game that would be a great video game.
I'm surprised they have not even done this. It's been so long since we've seen.
You don't own the owners. If you do not own something, you do not get the rights to do it. So, and the owners are not friends; they are competitors, and it won't happen. I think it's happened, actually. I'm going to correct myself. I think that either in some fanverse or something, they have done, Marvel versus DC. And I know that, obviously, Bad and the Sun on YouTube has done a lot of the actual, Wolverine versus someone, Wolverine versus Wonder Woman and stuff like that, which, again, these are all fan verses, so it's not illegal, technically.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But yeah, there is absolutely no way that we're going to probably ever get an official Marvel versus DC. And I don't know, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people, like the fans deciding who would win and the fans deciding all this. It's interesting. It's cool to see what they think and that they're not touched by making money by it. They just want to know. And that's what's fun about fandoms in general, is that we can make up these fun adventures that happen that don't ever happen in the actual world. And I know it'd be cool if Disney bought everything, but I'm going to be honest, I would hate that. That would make me so upset if Disney took over DC too, because then then everything would be the same. Everything would be a comical superhero movie that's colorful and happy ending. Like, no, like, that's not what I want, ever. So, do not buy Warner Brothers. Do not buy it. Obviously, they could probably not afford it. They're two pretty big. I like competition. Let's keep the competition. And then we have so many more movies that we can see throughout the year, because they can both make movies at the same time.
Well, let's also bear in mind, and I know this is getting a little off topic, but with that new Mutants movie that's supposed to be coming out, I think it was either this year or next year, it does play a bit of a darker tone to what Disney's usually used to. So maybe we'll get a major shock, and we'll be like, oh wow, Disney actually has the gumption to actually say, hey, let's go. We know that people are changing. We know everything. We'll do keep the comical stuff over here. Let's try to go down this different route of going darker. And who knows? Does
Disney own that? I feel like that's Fox. I thought Fox owns that. And
Sony. Well, also, isn't
the X-Men?
I was about to say, isn't Fox also now owned by Disney now?
I don't know. All of Fox?
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure they own everything Fox. I think they own the Fox Searchlight Spotlight Studios, as well as the Fox Network.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so. I'll double check on that, and we'll make this into a discussion for a later podcast. But yeah, it was just something that was reported. I think it was maybe like months ago. But again, different topic, different time. You also have
you do, because that's the interesting thing about Disney too, is they don't change the name, so you don't really know.
It is true. That is very true.
It's a little. I understand business-wise why you would do that, but it's a little sketchy. It's a little sketchy. Like, sure, yeah, now it's still Fox. Wait, yeah. And then you're like, wait.
Yeah, it's still Fox. We're not going to put in like a little mouse in here every now and then who just goes, oh boy, oh. All right. So, what were the other two that you had for crossovers that you would want to see?
So, crossovers that I would want to see. I think this one could possibly happen. Again, I have some Disney ownage in here, but I was thinking what would be really cool is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Gargoyles. Ooh.
I could see that.
I think that's Fox and Disney again. So maybe Disney does own them now. But yeah, I just think that would be kind of fun, because they're both like New York City. It's New York City, and they're supposed to be in the dark, so you could kind of like cross it over and be like, weird. They were both defending from the darkness the whole time, and because they were so secretive about it and nobody knew about either of them, they didn't know about either of them either. And so I think that would be kind of a cool, like weird, like there's monsters in New York, and they're turtles and gargoyles.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I'm just like, well, let's see. They're both basically in New York. They rule mainly in the dark. Surprised they have not done that yet.
But again, separate owners, or from what I assumed, I'm pretty sure they are still separate. But again, we'll figure that out later. So it wouldn't be plausible, but if they decided, if Disney decided to remake Gargoyles, like I said, I wanted them to do, and, Michael Bay decides, like, why don't I direct it? And then, sure enough, oh my god, he's through an explosion, and there's a turtle! There's a turtle! Foreshadowing. they're going to do it.
That would actually be pretty intense, pretty amazing, to be honest.
It would be fun, right? It would be fuld
Goliath and Leonardo basically battling over who they think is the leader. That would just...
Yeah, it would be interesting. It would be an entertaining thing that you would pay to go see. Like, that's how I'm like, I would pay. I would do it. And my final one, and this is just a little ridiculous, but whatever. I kind of already explained a few times throughout the podcast that I enjoy the London, monsters and everything like that. And I was thinking it would be really cool if we turn from the Victorian era and go back to, like, the Knights of the Round, King Arthur. I'm going to just describe it. I know Game of Thrones is a totally different world, but I want to describe it as like a Game of Thrones type of universe. And you throw in the London monsters, the Dracula, the werewolves, the Frankensteins, the mummies even. Why not? Screw it. I think that would be really cool. So I kind of described it as like Game of Thrones meets like Penny Dreadful type of situation, that they're knights, they're fighting to, like they're fighting dragons and crap, and then, oh my gosh, there's Draculas and witches and crazy things too. I just thought that would be a fun crossover type of thing. And it could happen, but I think it would be a totally new series, not a crossover. But
yeah, I could see that somehow happening, and I could also see them kind of, starting off as a movie, maybe, continuing as like a TV series, try to branch it off like that, and then maybe have the final conclusion be an actual movie where, it's King Arthur's basically final days, and, recollecting everything that, he's done for the kingdom and blah, 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 and just really doing something good that would be like something satisfying for a finish. I think that would be a really good crossover, in all honesty. I'm kind of picturing that in my head, where I just see Knights of the Round Table battling up against the vampires or Dracula, or they meet up with a werewolf who they think is just just this random creature that they think was sent by their enemies or something like that. Just for the heck of it, incorporate the dragons just because they can.
Yeah, why not? We always love dragons.
So, yeah, honestly, I like it. I think it'd make money.
And that's all that matters.
All right, so I think we're just about wrapped up with this episode, this crossover episode, quote unquote, of The Game Changer. And once again, guys, it is February, so we're going to start getting from all these other random episodes that we've been talking about to switching over to the Oscars, because it is coming up very quick here on March 3rd, I believe it was. Now I got to double check on here. Let's see here. March 4th, okay.
That was pretty close.
Yeah, one day off, whatever. So March 4th, we'll be talking... we'll be indeed watching the Oscars, seeing Jimmy Kimmel back again. Not going to screw up. Actually, he didn't screw up the first time. It wasn't his fault. So Jimmy Kimmel, stop being so hard on yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of very interesting movies that are, nominated here. I myself have definitely, freaked out over the fact that Greatest Showman once again gets a nomination in the Oscars. I'm like, yes. So happy. It won a Golden Globe, so that's one of those things where it's like, I'm a little confident they'll be good. But then we actually had this conversation last week where you talked a little bit about some of the songs that were there that actually have a pretty good contention, a good almost shoe-in for the win. But you might want to know this fact, and why I'm bringing this up right now, I have no idea. But some of the nominations that are in the Oscars right now were also nominations in the Golden Globes, and Greatest Showman actually beat them.
Good. That's awesome. I know that the Greatest Showman song is amazing. It's big to a lot of people. I just also know, I'm just like, you gotta be careful when Disney Pixar movie has a song in there. I would always be nervous. Like, it's Disney, they might win.
Yeah. I think.
But yeah.
How many times?
A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with that, which is really cool. They have on Facebook like a lot of behind the scenes stuff of The Greatest Showman, and I saw the movie, and I just, in general, it makes me like it even more. Like, once, like, they show, like, Hugh Jackman, like, singing with everybody, just, like, enjoying it, like, when they're warming up and stuff. They were just having so much fun, and for somebody who, you know, I do acting and stuff, and sometimes you're not having fun. It's just like, oh, this is a job, blah, blah, blah. When you see somebody, like, at their job and they just freaking love it, like, that makes you enjoy the outcome a little bit better.
Yeah, definitely, and I can attest to that as well. There are some times where you just think, this is not worth it, this is not worth it, why am I doing this? Why do people just do that? But, you know, a lot of these movies definitely do deserve their, you know, moments of fame. I mean, some of the movies that also have been nominated, Dunkirk, which I've heard was a really good war movie.
That was crazy. Yeah, I've seen a lot of these. I like that I've seen them. Yeah.
The Shape of Water, you definitely have been piping that up to me so much. Yeah. Darkest Hour, which I'm not too familiar with that one.
It's a Winston Churchill movie, so it's on my list. But.
The Post, which I will say this, that as a guy who works at a movie theater, that was one of the, I think, top 4 movies that were definitely highly requested and were sold out very fast, especially when we have our deals on Tuesdays. Looking at some of the other names here, Get Out, I'm very surprised got, you know, nominated for Best Picture. This is basically Jordan Peele's first time directing, and already he's getting a nomination for not only for Best Picture but also for Best Director too.
And it's like a thriller, right? Isn't it supposed like it was? It's a scary movie, right?
It is a scary movie, but I think it's more scary in the. I think more scary in a mental standpoint. I think that's what makes it so brilliant.
Okay, because, yeah, I mean, for me to hear any sort of movie that I've been told is a scary movie and it's nominated for Best Picture, I'm like, what is going on? That's crazy. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, by the way. Awesome movie. Frances McDermott or whatever, I don't remember the main actress. She's up for Best Actress. She was crazy, and it was awesome. It was like, you're watching it and you're like, this lady is insane, and I'm enjoying it. And I made sure I had to check. It is not based on a true story, but they were basing it on events that actually have happened before, like stuff like that. But the 3 Billboards, that actual event did not happen, but things like that in small towns do go unnoticed, obviously. It happens everywhere. The only one that I haven't seen that I really want to see still is Lady Bird. I gotta see that.
Lady Bird. Yeah, I still gotta really get back into the shape of, you know, getting watching a lot of these movies. Definitely, I'll probably start getting more into that next week. A couple other surprise, I think, movies that actually got nominated. Best Adapted Screenplay, Logan got a nomination for that. Do we think it's going to win? More than likely not. But the fact that, you know, it even got nominated for that tells you how powerful of a story Logan was. And again, legitimately, this was the first superhero movie that I literally cried. So it is that good. For anybody that says otherwise, you are jaded or you just have no heart when it comes to Hugh Jackman's performances. Just going to say that right now. You know, they've got, of course, Best Animated Feature. Coco's in there. Boss Baby, to a lot of people's surprise, is in there.
Gross. I don't think it'll win, but maybe I just need to rewatch it. I don't know. Did it have a really big, like, oh, that's what, this is the lesson we needed to learn?
I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know at this point.
But Coco, like, once I was done, I was like, I was tearing up, and two, like, that was a great story. That led me, it took me on a journey, and I understand why, like, full circle. Boss Baby to me was just like, again, it was more of an actual kid movie, to where, like, it's hard for me to get anything out of it, if you know what I mean. Like, when it's technically for kids, and it's supposed to be understandable by kids, so it's surface level. So, like, for me, I didn't get much out of it. I didn't finish it, so that's another, like, technicality that's like, okay, maybe I need to finish it, but I don't know. I didn't. It was too dumb for me. Like, I was like, oh, I can't watch it.
Yeah, fair enough. Probably to nobody's surprise, Star Wars has gotten, like, 3 nominations for Best Original Score, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, which I'm not going to really argue with that. Beauty and the Beast had a couple of nominations, including Best Costume Design, which, if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to our review on that movie, oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I think this is one of those few movies last year where we were both just like, this was awesome, this was great, definitely worth watching at least once.
Oh, yeah. And it's on Netflix for free.
Right. There we go. Cheap plug. We're not sponsored by Netflix, but hey, we still love it. And, Blade Runner 2049, even though people have given it some, like, lukewarm reviews, it's gotten a couple nominations. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 got Best Visual Effects nominations, as well as, ironically enough, you bring up Kong. Kong Skull Island got Best Visual Effects nomination.
Yeah.
So,
I always feel like Best Visual Effects is the movies that everybody has seen, because they're, those are the big box office hits, are going to be Best Visual Effects. They're going to all be there. Like, when you see that list, you're like, oh, Star Wars, Kong, Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, we're Planet of the Apes.
Right.
And then Blade Runner, which nobody saw, so.
I love how you just hype up every single movie. It's just like, oh, there's Star Wars, there's this.
Blade Runner wins. Blade Runner is going to win. And I'm going to be like, oh, kill me.
If that is your general reaction, I will probably fall on the ground laughing my ass off. Alright, so I think we've got a pretty good preview coming into the forthcoming weeks. Like we said, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Oscar nominations, as well as give our predictions on who's going to win in the Oscars. So be sure to tune into future episodes. But before we go, always got to do our nice little cheap plugs. Victory Bell, do you have any events that are coming up in the forthcoming weeks? I know that, Valentine's Day is coming up. Do you got a Valentine?
Well, honestly, I do have things coming up that are before Valentine's Day. So this weekend I'm going to Cedar Rapids for Cedar Rapids Comic-Con. That's in Iowa. It's going to be my first Iowa convention, so I'm really stoked. Kim Possible is going to be there, so excited to possibly talk with her. Maybe that'll go up on my page. The weekend after that, I have Star Wars training and LodgeCon, which is a new con in Illinois, just south of Joliet. So that's going to be a big event for me too. First year LodgeCon is being held. We'll see how it goes, and I'm excited to always be a part of new conventions. And then, Valentine's Day. I have a few plans that I'm doing, but obviously my Valentine's Day is not going to be just like Valentine's Day. One, it's Wednesday. What do you want on Wednesday? I got to work. But yeah, one of my friends wants to come down, and we make a fun Galentine's Day out of it. So that's always great. But no, I'm busy. So February I'm very busy. And March, hopefully, I'm going to not be as busy. But right now, February is busy.
Yeah, February is a fun, busy time. And I know that there's a lot of other movies that are going to be coming out for movie theaters, so I'll definitely be be busy taking care of that. But, a lot of stuff going on for the Game Changer as far as the month goes. Of course, going to be still trying to keep coverage of the WWE Mixed Match Challenge as well as Elimination Chamber coming up at the end of the month. Trying to think of other things that are going to be going on. I know that I will be trying to be working on special projects going forward, so definitely keep up to date with our Facebook fan page to see what is going on. Trying to think if there's anything. Wait. Kim Possible. Are you saying like the person who voiced Kim Possible for
Renee something? I don't really know her name. I'm so sorry.
I am looking her name up right now so that way we can at least give her some credit because she was indeed awesome. When
She was on Even Stevens too.
I feel like it's oh man, I'm even drawing a blank. It's like, what was her name? I think it's like Christy Carlson Romano. That's right.
Yes, that's her.
Okay, so at least got to give her credit about that. And I will say that if you do meet her and you do interview you, A, I will probably not be talking to you for about a week, and B, I am jealous. C, I am also jealous, and D, you lucky. Bottom line.
Thanks. But yeah, we'll see if I talk to her. I don't know. I haven't actually. I kind of didn't know she was going to be there, so I didn't ask about that. But she's the featured voice actor there, and usually at smaller conventions, I usually get to interview the voice actors. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If not, no big deal.
No big deal to you, maybe.
But yeah, I enjoyed Kim Possible too, and I liked Even Stevens probably a little bit better, but yeah, cool.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so cheap plugs, of course, guys, continue on. Go check out Victory Bell on her page at VictoriBelleCosplay, which is also her Instagram. Also, check her out on Twitter at VictoryClark04. Be sure to give me a follow on Twitter as well at RealFNGame, and be sure to give us a like on our Facebook fan page at Changing Up the Game. So for Victory Bell, I've been Nate the Effing Great. Enjoy crossovers. Let us know what crossovers you enjoyed, either growing up or crossovers now. And we will talk to you guys for our Oscar season fun time February's. So we'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye-bye.